G'day ladies and gents, Pat Navarro. I'm not really used to talking to a non-military crowd, so excuse me if I slip out the old, unorthodox word. I'll do my best and I'll try not to bore you as well. So, as Ray said, I lost my son to suicide and 5 mates after coming back from Afghanistan. It's close to my heart. Just out of curiosity, who here has lost somebody to suicide? Okay. So it's everywhere, right? You either know someone or who either died from suicide or know someone who has lost somebody from suicide. What the answer is, I don't know, but I know the biggest part of, especially in the military, is having the courage to put your hand up. There's still a lot of stigma attached to it. I take my hat off for you guys because you guys see trauma on a daily basis. As soldiers, we see trauma overseas on operations. We come home from that. We have the luxury of coming home from that. You guys don't. So I take my hat off to you guys. But how you guys deal with it, I don't know. How I dealt with it was with alcohol. It started with, 2 to 3 drinks a night, took the edge off, made me feel comfortable and relaxed. So 2 to 3 drinks ended up to 4 or 5, to 8 or 9, till I was downing a bottle of bourbon a night. So I was your classic functioning alcoholic. I went in, after I got discharged from the army, I went and attended an outpatients addictive behaviours program over at Pine Rivers Private Hospital. I tried for several months to, I was kidding myself. I thought I could control it. So I tried to go 1 day alcohol free, 2 days alcohol free, 3 days and so on. What was keeping me going was knowing that on the 5th day or 6th day that I could drink and I would make up for the rest of the week that I hadn't drunk. So for me, having that first drink was not an option. Once you cross that addiction line, it's like, it was explained to me like a paddle pop stick. Once you snap that stick, you might be able to straighten it up, but there's always going to be that weak spot in there. So as an addict, I know I have to say no to that first one. And so I did try for 3 months, fell off the wagon after that when I went to Italy, because Italy happens. And then I started off again, and that was October last year, so it's been over 9 months now. Still not out of the woods. I know that if I have 1 drink, I'll go right back to where I started from, so it's no longer an option for me. What's keeping me going is that I talk to a lot of soldiers back at the Soldier Recovery Centre, and a soldier can see right through your bullshit. So I want to be congruent with what, I want to be able to walk the walk so that I can then talk to other soldiers. So me in a nutshell, I'm married, 30 years. My wife recently suffered a stroke. And it was one of the things that I was grateful for. Not the fact that she had a stroke, but the fact that I was not drunk when it happened. And I was able to respond quickly enough to get her to the hospital and get her the treatment that she needs. That was 3 months ago. She's now at home and she's recovering. It's still going to be a long road. But yeah, had that been 12 months ago, I would have been absolutely useless to her. Now, look, I know alcohol, drugs, and a lot of other dangerous and risky behaviours is running rife in military personnel. I know mates who are doing, illicit drugs. They're going haywire on alcohol, marriage breakdowns. A lot of stuff is happening. You wonder what takes somebody who's on a peak performance state in their lives, come back home to Australia and they end up like rubbish. I didn't understand, I didn't get it until I was at that dark place myself. And the frightening thing is, it was easy to plan. Not only was I planning my suicide, I was also planning a murder-suicide. and that's because my wife is disabled. And she told me, well, she made me promise her that if I'd ever done something stupid like that, then I'll take her with me. And so I was planning a murder-suicide. And it was easy, frighteningly easy. You know, everything was worked out, and I felt really at ease. It was at that point there that I spoke to Lifeline. I didn't know who to call. I spoke to Lifeline, had a good conversation, had a good cry over the phone, and somehow we got disconnected, but I felt good after that, so I never rang him back. So I felt sorry for the poor bloke on the other end on the phone, but I just wasn't in the headspace to call back and sort of like say, look, you know, we just got cut off. I didn't, you know, neck myself. But look, I'm one of the lucky ones. I came out of it the other end. The hardest thing for me was putting my hand up. Now, if there's one thing that I'd like to change, especially in the military, is for people to stop being so scared to put up your hand. Because there's still a lot of stigma. There's still people walk on eggshells around you if they think that there's something wrong with you. You know, they segregate you, they take you away from your team and put you somewhere else. So you're not with your support network anymore. You can't handle weapons, you can't handle military vehicles. So you feel like a lot of the stuff that you took pride in, you can't do anymore. So what the answer is there, I don't know, but there is a lot of stigma still, which we're trying to change. What is happening, and I'm grateful for, is that they've formed a new, they call the Human Performance Cell at the Army, and what they do is they're working on the spectrum before a crisis happens. So once a crisis happens, we have the Soldier Recovery Centre that soldiers can go to. But before that, to prevent that mental breakdown, to prevent that suicidal thoughts, they're running this program. The pilot program just finished, and it's pretty cool, and I'm yet to see it. First week is all theory, second week is all practical, and it's resilience-based. So they pad you up in a suit, and you get knife tasered, you get the shit kicked out of you for 15 seconds. You don't get hurt, but it's enough to trigger a flight or fight response in you. You do that for 15 seconds, then you do it again for 15 seconds, and you know what to expect, so you brace up. The third time, you kind of like want to fight back, and the fourth time you do it, you're tasked with trying to gather intelligence, some of the stuff that they leave around the room. So it just builds up a tolerance or a conditioning, so to speak, for your, just to muck around with that fight or flight response in you. It's still experimental stages. I'd love to see how it develops from here, but it's one good thing that's happening within the Army, and that's happening within the Army. I don't know what systems you guys have in your workplace for mental illness. Is there any type of support? There is. See a lot of heads nodding. Oh, that's good to know. Because I know that from the, you hear stories, I know like from the police force, I'm told that there's not a great support network there for mental illness, or you're not encouraged to put your hand up. It's changing in the Army. Like a lot of government agencies, it takes a long time for it to kick in, but things are happening and they're moving to the right direction. That's pretty much all I have. If anybody has any questions that I can happily answer.
I'm interested to know about what the Army or Defence Force are doing for opportunities for soldiers when they come back outside of the civilian world.
As far as I know, no, there isn't much opportunity for that, but there are organisations like AgriVet is a new one that's come on. There's Returned Warriors, and they specifically, they're a recruiting agency that target veterans or people who have left, ex-military personnel. There's more services available if you're medically discharged, because they give you a rehab provider who'll train you up, on something that you're not let's say you're no longer able to do the work that you're trained to do, they'll train you up into something different. So yeah, unfortunately there's more available for people who are medically discharged than for people who leave on their own accord. And unfortunately for those who leave on their own accord, they miss out. A, because they don't want to do the paperwork, or they just find the bureaucracy of DVA like just too much. And yeah, there is a lot of red tape. So it's not easy for especially those who leave on their own accord. People have probably got claims that they're still entitled to, and they don't worry about it. They don't bother doing it. I didn't think I had the right to put a claim in for PTSD. I didn't get shot. I got shot at, but I didn't get hit. I still got all my limbs. I know I've got mates who had it a lot worse than me, and they're thriving still in the army. So what right did I have to put my hand up? So there's a lot of that pride, especially for males. That you don't want to put your hand up because you don't want to appear weak. You don't want to appear, unable to hack it.
I know you said you got over like you got to that point where you picked up the phone. You were at that point where you were going to go or you were going to do something. You picked up the phone. How could you help someone if they're not willing? Like, someone that's at that stage but they don't want to call anyone or call someone. How can you as a mate help someone?
The most direct method is the best. Ask them straight out, mate, are you thinking of necking yourself? Are you thinking of... 99% of the time that person's going to want to talk. They've got a lot of shit to say and they don't want anybody to fix their problems, they just want somebody to listen. And then you can make a commitment with them, get them to make a commitment with you, seek help. Get somebody, let's make an appointment to go and see somebody. Someone who's trained, obviously, to work. I opened up to a fellow sergeant when I went back. So I said, look, I've had these thoughts. At the time, I still had access to the armoury and I had access to the magazine. So I was obligated to tell someone and say, probably not a good idea. He got a Padre involved, Padre got a Sykes involved, and they started asking me questions and all that. Off you go, into hospital 6 weeks. Yeah, but for somebody, if you know somebody is struggling, ask them straight out. It's the best way.
How do you actually mentally prepare somebody who wants to go in the armed forces?
How do you
Mentally prepare someone who wants to go in the armed forces?
look? You do a psychometric test before you join, and they ask you a series of questions. Some of the questions are pretty crazy, like you're standing over a cliff. What do you feel like doing? You're not going to say jump off. It's not that hard to get in. I suspect that now they probably screen people a lot more than what they used to, simply because some people are predisposed to, say, mental illness. Some people are predisposed to not handling the pressure. But those that can't handle the pressure are normally found out during recruit training. During recruit training, like if anyone's going to bail out, it'll be in the first couple of weeks or so. I reckon you guys are a breed of your own, really. To be able to handle that day in, day out, I don't know how you do it. I know the story of a female that went through, she was an officer, and went through her Duntroon, and when they came across, and she was blitzing every lessons that they were doing over there until they come to the range. When they came to the range and she started hearing the shots on the range, she didn't tell anybody, but she was present at the Port Arthur massacres, and she just froze. She couldn't do anything. So this all came out afterwards. But some people are predisposed, some people are, you really got to want to do the job. I haven't done it yet. There is something that DVA has come out with, and no, I haven't done that training yet. The training that I've done was more treatment. So there's a PTSD course that you do down in Toowong, and then I did other courses like self-help type courses, and also my own, I suppose, research and just wanting to learn more. And the more I know, the more I realise I don't know, especially when it comes to the brain and how it works.
The Department of Veterans Affairs, what sort of support did they show at GM?
DVA is an insurance company. So they pay for your medical treatment. So they're not there to be compassionate to you. They're not there to, treat you. They're there to say, okay, you had this injury as a result of your service, and therefore you're entitled to this. Unfortunately, there are people who try to rort the system. Say, I got PTSD from losing my Wi-Fi, but unfortunately they have to be like that. They're not there to be a mate. They're just there to pay the bills for those who I suppose deserve it. But they don't make it easy, and a lot of people do, unfortunately, go without. The Army has a course called Assist, and it's a suicide awareness course that I did it, and I recommend it to all NCOs or anybody in a supervisory type role, just to pick up the signs and know how to handle it. Exactly like the question you asked before, if you know somebody who's, going down that path, how best to deal with the situation. I don't know of external ones other than the one that DVA is paying for. It is heading in the right direction. Just being a public servant, it's just going to take time, a lot of time. But in the meantime, it's getting addressed from internally. Like there's a Facebook page called Overwatch, and they've got one for infantry, one for engineers, one for RAMI, and what they do is just they put their feelers out on just some of the feeds that people are putting on their Facebook posts, and when somebody starts talking, bad, that they're not dealing with things, someone picks up on them and say, hey, do you know this fella? Let's get somebody over there. And that's happening internally just through volunteers. The services are there. But someone needs to want to receive that help. You need to make that choice. That's all I have for you guys. Thanks for listening.